Good morning. A cordial greeting and thanking the Commission, and my thanks for inviting me to present this information. I'm Mr. Huertas. I have been a combat pilot of Peru's Air Force, and I would like to present a document to the U.S. Department of Defense. Please, first image. You can see that here. This document was a 1982 document that was produced by the U.S. Department of Defense. They inform me in the near of the La Jolla, at south of Peru base, there was in several opportunities a UFO reported, first in the morning time, the second time in the times of the evening of the next day. The UFO that appeared in the morning, an airplane, SU code 22, tried to intercept it and destroy without being lucky in the objective. It was ineffective to try to destroy this UFO. Second page is more details about this event, given the name of the base and all the details pertaining. The pilot that was driving, I was the pilot that was piloting this airplane, and I will be very happy to narrate and explain the events that occurred. I was the pilot in this airplane, trying to intercept the UFO. In the area base of La Jolla, in the department of Arequipa in the south of Peru, 11 April 1980, in the morning, 1,800 people, civil and military, that they were part of the base, could observe at the end of the landing strip an object that looked like an aerostatic globe suspended in the air about 5 kilometers of distance and 1,500 of altitude. The system of radars did not detect this globe approaching, and this object did not respond to the tower of control messages. This was a restraint location that was not allowed except for military. So we thought it was an espionage for this military base, and it could be considered a danger for the security of the country. So the squad was ordered that one of the pilots did have to go up in the air and follow the object and destroy the object. The Air Command gave me the order to take off and to shoot this object before it approaches too fast to the base. So I fast approach this object, and this airplane that I was piloting had military weapons. I did an ascent from the right to the 1,500 kilometers of height, and I initiated the attack procedures where I was close to the object. I threw away a charge of missiles, but this globe never got any damages and started ascending and living in a very, very fast pace. The next, please. During the persecution of this globe, I had 900 kilometers per hour speed, but I couldn't reach him. When I arrived to 84 kilometers of distance from the base, this globe stopped very quickly. I had to make a very quick maneuver to avoid confrontation. When I wasn't getting close to shooting again, the distance, the object did a very fast movement and went underneath my airplane without allowing me to shoot. In several locations, evaded my location and avoided on the last minute on my intent to shoot. When confronted with this situation, I took the decision to speed on a very high velocity and ascend very high to go ahead and attack in a very vertical manner. But the globe did have a maneuver of lifting up very, very quickly, so I wasn't able to focus to shoot. The next view. I accelerated my airplane to get to 1.6 Mach, approximately
1,850 kilometers per hour, and I began to ascend. I surpassed the position of the balloon, and I hoped to be able to be high enough to get into my attack maneuver. But I was surprised when the balloon, again, quickly ascended and was able to get alongside my plane. And therefore, I was unable to attack it. With the UFO parallel to my plane, I kept going up, hoping to be able to surpass it, to be able to get into attack position. But I was unable to do so. So we got up to 19,200 meters, about 63,000 feet. As you can see here, where the balloon stopped its ascent, and I tried to again get it in my sights to be able to fire, but it was impossible. At that point, my low fuel light came on, saying that I had just enough fuel to get back to land. Since I could no longer continue my attack, I approached it, got to a distance of about 100 meters, and I was able to see that this balloon was not a balloon. It was about 10 meters in diameter, and on the top, it had an enameled, a non-metallic cream-colored enameled dome, and that in its base, it had a wide silver circular metallic surface. It did not have any wings, jet propulsion, windows, antenna, anything like that. These are obviously surfaces that aircraft usually have. Pulling myself together, I went back to the air base and I reported to the control tower what I had seen. In total, there were 22 minutes of maneuvers that are clearly etched in my brain, and I am convinced that there is extraterrestrial technology and life. I will never forget what I saw that day. And this is a sketch of what I saw. If you could go on to the next slide. It more or less looked like this. And the two next slides, we can see, oh, this is a photo of me with my plane. This is from 1980. Next, please. This is a Sukhoi 22. Thank you very much. That's the end of my remarks.
Colonel Santa Maria, I can't imagine your experience. There's so much, you know, I mean, I felt like I was sitting on your shoulder when you were telling the story. Afterward, how did your government treat you? Did they take your information and take it seriously? How could they not? But did they? And did you see any life in those UFOs?
La superficie del ovni no permitía ver nada.
We could not actually see into the UFO, not through the ceramic part or the metallic part. As regards the government and the Air Force, the 1,800 people that actually saw it and the commanders that were there, we reported all of this to the Air Forces, but there was no negative repercussions because it was officially accepted. The sighting was officially accepted, and I continued to fly for 20 more years without any problems.
So how did the press handle this? And, I mean, what was their response?
El año 80 que ocurrió
el
evento.
In 1980, when this event happened, this was a year that on that air base we were installing a civil war
organizaciones.
We were installing Soviet materials or Soviet installations at that place, and the UFO did not actually get to fly over the base, and so really we received the order to not talk about this because we didn't actually want any curious journalists to come and actually research and investigate this because we had sensitive materials on the base and we didn't want to attract any undue attention. And so it was 22 years of silence until the Air Force officially gave us permission to talk about these phenomena, and that's at that time when they said that we could actually start to speak publicly about this issue. And as I said, they finally gave me the authorization to talk about this.
And did the press come back by belittling the effort, or did they acknowledge it and support it?
The media started to talk about this secret that we had kept for so many years, but they didn't really know how to get access to the information from the Air Force offices, and so the media occasionally would interview me or request an interview just to try to get the word out about this, but it was so many years later that there wasn't a whole lot.
Okay, thank you very, very much.
Chair, I'd like to turn to Colonel Santa Maria for a moment. This Department of Defense memo that's stamped in June of 1980, that was, I guess you actually showed this up on the screen, also is attached to your testimony, or your story, I should say. And then, of course, you testified about this. Is this memo referring directly to your experience that was indeed, as someone's already said, very dramatic and had what we call here, and I think everywhere, the wow factor to it? Is this a memo that relates to, that's to you? And are you prohibited from telling us or something? But it sounds like this happened in April. This is something with the June stamp on it. It looks like our Joint Chiefs of Staff. Confirm, if you can. The Joint Chiefs of Staff of the United States of America have made these comments, or at least received these comments, from Peru. And we have this in writing as a document that talks about these very experiences of shooting at UFOs, with the statement, I have to say here, that the source has been known as credible before in all respects. In other words, what you experienced was not even questioned by people, and copies of this, CIA, the National Security Agency, I could go on. I mean, is this a smoking gun or what for trying to open up some files here in the United States. I mean, but now I want to hear your answer. Because it sounds, well, whether it was you or not, something very similar to what you said happened. It looks like in April or May, so I'm thinking it might be you they're talking about here. Go ahead.
El año 2007, en este mismo
2007,
edificio,
in
fui
this
invitado
same
para
building,
una
I was invited
convención
to
para
take part in a conference on the declassification of documents. There was a journalist, Edwin Kane, and there was a filmmaker, James Fox, who was making a documentary. And they turned over a copy of this document to me, and they said, "We would like to invite you to our country because our country has accredited this encounter." And so when I reviewed the data in 1980, the only encounter with a UFO was my encounter. And so the date of this memorandum was about 28 days later. So there were no other occurrences at the same base. So I believe in the sharing of information, you can see that this was the event being referred to.
Well, thank you. And I just want everybody in this room to hear that even though, again, we have a humble observer that doesn't like to in any way overstate anything, that was a really strong yes to my question.
It was.
There's no other way to interpret that. And I appreciate that. And I have to say, since the way you described this, and the fact that you actually shot, I'm going to use the word bullets. I know that that's not the right word. I'm not much in knowledge of Air Force weaponry and so on, but you shot at this. And are you a good are you a good target? Are you a good marksman? I don't know the right word to use.
He's not a target.
No. Obviously, you shot at this. And would you repeat again what happened?
Well, these were 22 minutes of this relationship where we went up and down, and we went around. It was trying to avoid me. I was pursuing it, and I was trying to fire. When I first fired, these were bursts of 30-millimeter shells. So they're about 3 centimeters wide, 25 centimeters long, and they can destroy a truck, a single one. And there were 64, so it was just a barrage of fire, and nothing happened at all. And that's what was so surprising. Now, the possibility of not hitting my target, it was practically impossible. I've won awards for marksmanship. So I have won some shooting contests, and so they were like, "Hey, you're the one who needs to go up there. You're the one who needs to chase this thing." And
I just don't want you to be quite so humble in the way you're explaining this, please. Because he took a little too long to say, hey, he wouldn't really have missed this. Now, he didn't say it that way. He said it more carefully, but there's no question. You wouldn't have missed it based on everything you said and based on how those 30 caliber shells, as you've described, would have taken out a truck. I mean, you didn't even have to be a great shot, but they picked you because of your ability to shoot at something they were worried about coming in on the airbase. Am I correct? And I want you to continue with your answer as far as what happened after you shot the way you did at it.
Well, so I shot these bursts. In our training, we are always firing on 3-meter by 3-meter targets. And in this case, this was a 10-meter by 10-meter objective target. So, I mean, the possibility of missing was 0.
I mean, these hit the object, and when it started to move away, I put on my post-combustion so that I could chase it, to maneuver, to try to get in position. But it's this mental exercise of how am I going to do this? And when it was moving away, I thought, how is it doing this? How can I better attack it? So I tried different positions until it came to the point when it had supersonic speed. When it would go up, I tried to get in my sights vertically, but when I moved to the side of the UFO at 1.3 Mach, the UFO, which was stopped, it achieved 1.2 Mach in a question of seconds without any engines. This is something that no craft can do, to just go from 0 to 1.2 Mach vertically to reach my same position. This is a UFO that knew the way our aircraft worked, because it was able to anticipate my moves and then follow me. And then once I landed, I met with intelligence officers, and we looked at all catalogs to see what possible spy objects this might have been. But they all had some type of engine. There was nothing similar to what I had observed. So this was an unidentified object, and we were unaware of any type of technology on Earth that existed. Will you allow me to make a comment?
Please, Mr. Choi. Yeah, I'd like to hear Dr.
Quizás
Choi's, since you're from Peru, of course. Go ahead.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Perhaps because the commander is so humble, he has not expressed certain details, but I wanted to share something that I believe that you should know and I should underscore.
If I could interrupt you for one moment, I would ask the colonel to nod his head yes on any detail where either yes or no, just to make sure that he's, because I agree. One of the problems is you have not a problem, in my opinion, but you have somebody that does not like to in any way bring attention to himself or overstate his own abilities or what he did. Just description that's undenied by our Joint Chiefs of Staff was amazing. I just want him to confirm what you say, because I do want to believe that it would be useful to this panel to have him acknowledge anything you say that would add to that. Go ahead.
Una de las cosas que se ha deslizado
One of the things that
en los días pasados
we have heard in previous days is the possibility that many of these UFO events are due to earthly craft. But in the case of Colonel Santa Maria, we can prove that this was not any technology we see here on Earth. In the military terminology, there was a wall of fire, basically, that he came up, that this object came up against. There's nothing on Earth that could defend itself against that, specifically in that time. Not even up to date, not because it was able to only defend itself, but as the Colonel stated, you asked him what was the impact that it had on that. There was no impact. It absorbed all of these rounds. It actually absorbed it. That is absolutely impossible for any Earth or any technology that we have here on Earth to be able to absorb that type of barrage.
If I could interrupt you for just a moment and say, do you agree with the 2 or 3 important points there that Dr. Choi just made?
Yes, I do agree, because over time we have talked about the possible situations and the different perspectives that exist. Obviously, I fired, and there should have been some sort of impact, but there was nothing. There was no, the bullets didn't even explode. There was no explosion of the barrage of what I was firing.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Colonel Santa Maria, who gave the order to shoot? Was that your own initiative, or did it come from higher headquarters as you were selected and taking off?
The order was to intercept and destroy, because this is something that could invade our airspace.
That's right. That answers my question.
If you look at the case of Santa Maria, where there was this quote-unquote clash, and where all of the ammo was fired, you would expect a response from the others, but there was none. It seemed like it was like a cat and mouse game. And if they wanted to destroy us, they would, clearly with their technology, they would have been able to do that, and they haven't done it. So I think our approach is very different. It's not, we look at superior technology, but not in military framework. But there are many visits that we're receiving. We have to look at it. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to explain it scientifically yet.
Thank you very much for your comments. Colonel?
Yes, just with respect for how the media treats us when there's a UFO case. I've worked with many airlines and crews, and I would say that starting in the 90s, pilots talk very openly about experiences that they've had, what they've seen, what they've heard, because, again, nobody makes fun of you or laughs at you. It's very normal now to talk about sightings, and that doesn't have any impact whatsoever on someone's career, and I'm very pleased that that's the case.